As you know, it's fan day. We're excited to have the opportunity to get out in front of our fans and let them watch us practice and kind of see typical practice of what our kids go through. The good part is we get to go to the stadium and do it, so I think our players will kind of be excited about a new venue and a chance to get out in front of the fans and compete. And it always energizes them when people are watching, so we're excited to have the fan base out, and we encourage as many as can possibly come and get to visit with our players and myself afterwards. So it's always good to give back to these fans. They've been really good to us and Dog Nation, so we're excited about that. Entering day 6, we've been in pads for, I guess, 3 days now. 2 of them are pads and shorts, and then one of them was actually full pads yesterday, and we'll be full pads today. So it's kind of our 4th day in pads, and the team's progressing well. Anytime you get a chance to compete and go against each other, the cream starts rising to the top. You start finding out more about guys. We certainly have a lot of guys that are young, that are talented, but they are a little bit confused too. And we got to do a great job as coaches to bring those guys along and keep developing them and teaching them. Because the initial instinct of a kid that's young is to get disheartened or upset or frustrated at times, and we can't let that happen. These young kids, we got to continue to let them grow and let them know that it's a 27 practice process they got to go through. They're not going to get it overnight. And I think some of them are starting to do that. We got good leadership on this team. I'm challenging them to lead every day. I didn't think we had the kind of practice we needed to have yesterday. I'll let them know that. Up until yesterday, they've been really good practices, and I hope that flips back around today with you guys there and the fan base there. I'll open it up.
Reminder, no live streaming, and also if you have a question, raise your hand and get one of these 4 mics to you.
Hey Kirby, can you just comment on the job you feel like that Jim Chaney has done to this point as your offensive coordinator, and maybe expound a little bit on the challenge that he inherited, you know, both last year with a freshman quarterback and this year with a transitioning offensive line?
Yeah, you know, I've always had a lot of respect for the work Jim's done. I think if you look at his career as a whole, you see the places he's been, you see the job he's done. He's been in some interesting situations. From Arkansas, heavy run to Tennessee. One year we played him and couldn't slow him down from throwing it because they had a guy that could throw it. They had really good wideouts. So he's been very versatile in his past. He was not able to do that last year. We're not in a position to be that. It's not who we were. We're in transition, and it was tough. I think he'll be the first to admit, Jay, that we didn't live up to the expectations we wanted last year. That's not the standard that we expect at Georgia, and he recognizes that. We acknowledge that. We have to do a good job of analyzing why was it that way, why wasn't it the way we want, and what are you going to do about it? And that's what we're worried about now. We're not worried about last year at all. We're worried about what's going to happen now moving forward. What is the growth of Jacob Eason? What is the growth of Jake Fromm? The wide-out position. The O-line position getting more girth and getting bigger and more physical. So that part I've been pleased with. The sheer numbers, absolutely not where we need to be, and I think we all acknowledge that.
Kirby, at what point, you get times during fall camp where you feel like you're running out of time to get ready for the season?
You know, it's interesting you say that. I think, not right now, but as it gets closer, you feel that way. And you don't want to front load or back load the schedule, because you're trying to go at 2 people's pace. You know, we kind of got a team of guys that have been here for a long time, good senior group. Then we've got an influx of first, second year guys that you're almost having to do a pace of 2 different units. So you can't load them up too much. But you've also got to older guys and challenge them mentally. So we have walkthroughs each day that we're saying, okay, this half of the walkthrough is this pace. This half of the walkthrough is this pace. And there's 2 different groups you're trying to teach and bring along. So I feel good about where we are, but certainly I think as you get closer and closer to the game, you start trying to say, did we get everything we had to do? And we have a checklist of everything we have to do before the first game, and we try to hit all those situations you can.
Kirby, beyond obviously scoring points, what is the overall offensive philosophy that you want at Georgia, and has it adjusted any since last year?
Well, first thing you look for in any offense is balance. And I know you can say that's coach speak, but if you cannot run the ball in critical situations in the game, you're usually not going to win the game. Does that mean you need to lead the SEC in rushing to win? No, not necessarily. But that means you gotta be able to run it when you have to. When do you have to be able to run it? 4th and inches, third and 1, goal line situations, red area. If you can't run the ball in the red area, you're gonna get beat. You've got to be able to run the ball some in the red area. And then end of game, you gotta run the clock out. 33% of our SEC games, you're gonna have to be able to run the ball. So that toughness and that mentality has to be there. But we all know that the spread element has taken over college football, and being able to make looser plays and make it harder on defenses to defend is much better. So between those two things, you want to have balance. You want to get your football players the football. Who are the best guys with the ball in their hand? Who are the best blockers in space to get those guys the ball? So in our world, we talk all the time about must-run situational football versus first, second down out in the open field. How can I get my playmakers the ball? And I think when you do that, it makes you more productive and you do score more.
Coach, when Jacob Eason went to the Manning camp a while back, did they work with all mechanics, getting rid of ball quicker, things of that nature?
Yeah, it's more of an experience where he is a actual counselor for young kids, but then they have kind of quarterback workouts the way I understand it, from Peyton and Eli and Cooper and Archie, who are all good friends of mine. They have throwing sessions where they do after the kids are done, they go out with the college guys and get workout. And it's really probably more intellectual for Peyton and Eli to sit and meet with those guys and visit with them, but they do go out and throw. Now mechanically, I don't think they're trying to mess with anybody mechanically. They're more talking about body position, the way you take care of yourself, the way you behave on and off the field, the way the team views you as a leader, a lot more intangible things than mechanical things.
Coach, so after coming back, what have you seen from Trenton Thompson throughout the early stages of this preseason?
As far as Trenton, how he's doing this preseason?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, well, Trenton has always been what we call a stack monster. I mean, you're in the stack is where the 10 people are, the O-line and the D-line all bunched in a stack, and when the ball gets thrown on the perimeter, best thing Trenton does is he turns and he runs the ball really fast. So his cover down on short passes and going to get the ball, he's a great energy guy. So I've been pleased with where Trenton is. I think Trenton will be the first to tell you he's got to work with his block protection. His block protection is how he strikes the offensive lineman and ability to control his gap. He's really quick and he's really athletic, but he doesn't always control his gap. So he's trying to improve on that. But as far as knowing what to do, Trenton's an upperclassman now. He knows what to do and he practices really hard.
Kirby, your quarterback situation obviously looks a little bit different now with Bryce back on the roster, and I know you got a plan for this season and the future. Under what scenario would you envision Jake Fromm redshirting?
I don't know that you even think about that right now. Like, you try to envision something, you got to let things happen as they happen. It's not a conversation we go ahead and say, okay, what do we have to do to let Jake Fromm redshirt? What do we have to do to make Jake Fromm play? That's not the consideration. Consideration is we got to develop Jake Fromm as fast as possible. Okay, because as of today, he's one play away from playing. All right, so we don't think like that. We don't think like, oh, well, we're going to redshirt this guy, offset these guys. I don't think that's the way to really look at it. I think it's a lot more, can Jake continue to grow at the rate he's growing? Can he make decisions and make the throws that we want him to make? Can he run the offense and execute the offense and lead the offense in the right way? And if he continues to do those things, then he's competing for everything. Not just for who's the backup, who's third, are we redshirting him? We don't really get into that analysis. We look at it as what's going to give us the best chance to have him ready to play first game.
Kirby, I guess a couple weeks ago there was some sort of like business expo or something for the team. What does that consist of, and is it through like leadership program of some sort?
Yeah, we've got a program here. I think all you guys have heard about it. If you hadn't, you've probably seen it on the internet, the Georgia Way. That Lee Fudge, Carl helps Lee out. They do a tremendous job. We can kind of amp that up because the only thing we can give back to our players outside of just a degree and great intangibles from being part of the organization is the ability to go out and get jobs. So we want our guys more prepared for that. And most colleges start that at year 4, senior year, junior year. We're taking freshmen, we're taking sophomores, because there's no experience like walking into a place like we had that night at the expo where every employer's there and they're introducing themselves, they're interacting with them. We had each guy take a class on how to act in an interview, how to behave, how to introduce yourself, because those are things we're getting back. And I'm getting a lot of feedback from our lettermen who've called and said, this is the way it should be. You need to do this because maybe I wasn't prepared. We want them more prepared, so our ability to do that, and that was an unbelievable event that we've had so much positive feedback. We've had 2 or 3 guys offer jobs that went, and it was a great networking opportunity. And some of our kids in this room that may be NFL players are already in communication with an employer hoping to get a job when they're done. And that's kind of what it's all about, giving back to our guys for when they get done.
Kirby, you guys made a 21 spot jump in the coach's poll. I'm guessing you don't put too much stock into that at this point, but if you had a guess as to what goes into that perception about your team, what do you think it might be?
I think it's you guys. You guys are responsible for that perception because that's what everybody believes, what y'all write, right? Nobody called and asked us. I didn't even know that. You know what I mean? I had no idea. So it's definitely media perception.
That was the coach.
Right, coach's poll. It wasn't voted by me. That's the perception out there. The recruiting analysts do a great job of giving out stars, and they rate things based on stars. That's what people do today. It's based on perception.
Kirby, a question on Chauncey Manak. How's his development, and is he more of a hybrid outside linebacker D end, or is he moving to defensive end?
Yeah, it's an interesting question. You know, this is a guy that he continually makes plays in practice. And we have the same debate you just said a lot. Is he outside linebacker, defensive end? The way college football is now, not NFL, but college football, it is such a space game that Chauncey is slippery. He's hard to block. But when you run downhill runs at him, he's not as effective. He's not big enough to hold up. So you have to kind of decide what role does he have. He certainly has a role in this team because he has a really uncanny ability to get on and off blocks, make plays, cause disruption. He's still learning our system. He doesn't know exactly right. But right now he's been working at defensive end. But you got to remember, 50% of our outside backers are defensive ends. So it's just, is he this one or is he this one? Really, he's a little bit of both. We're just putting him in that room so that he gets that experience more often in there. He can always move back. It's going to depend on his body some too, because we like him to be 260, and he's not really quite that weight right now. But he's doing a good job.
So I heard you discussed the defense and having, some veteran players, but you've also kind of said that they've got to play the way we want them to play. Looking back at last year, what were the major breakdowns? Was it like not containing on the back end, or what was what you kind of saw as the real weaknesses?
Well, the biggest thing is red area. We make no bones about it. When you're 121st in the red area in the country, it's not acceptable. That in and of itself affects scoring defense. If you take 10 of those opportunities and you hold them to a field goal, that's 4 points per those attempts. That's 40 points. Changes your entire complexion. So the red area was one of the most evident. Okay. Also, creating sacks, generating pass rush is important. We gave up too many big plays per game, but it was down from what the year before was. So our goal all the time is to say, can we improve? We improved giving up less explosive plays, but we did not do what we had to do in the red area. We thought we forced turnovers adequately to be kind of second in the SEC in turnover margin. But the big thing for us, tackling in space, being able to affect the pass rusher, affect the passer with our pass rush, and then the red area defense were the big areas that we got to improve on.
Coach, UGA has a alum going to the Hall of Fame this weekend. I don't think you guys overlapped during your playing career, but
Oh, yeah, we did.
you okay if you did? Just what you remember about him, Davis as a player, and your thoughts on him going into the Hall.
First of all, an unbelievably class act. I can still remember my first day here. My locker was over near his, and of course everybody thought I was a walk-on kicker when I got here, and then he kind of took me under his wing and took me out to practice, and my locker was right next to it, so it was a unique experience for me. Of course, at that time, he was Terrell Davis. He wasn't from TD, the Super Bowl, he wasn't all that. He was always kind, one of the greatest smiles, one of the best in the business, and class act that I've always had a lot of respect for. I've run into him over time. He's done a lot of NFL Network events at pro days that I've been a part of, and we're just happy to have him be a dog. He represents Dog Nation the right way, and what a
questions? Got time for a couple more?
With Davin Bellamy, what kind of development are you looking to see from him in terms of his game this season?
Well, consistency and performance is the number one thing. I mean, Davin as a kid has been in the program a long time. He understands the defense. He knows it inside and out. Does he compete at the right level? You know, we had a speaker come in and talk about CT. That's talking about your ability to compete and your ability to be tough. And we ask kids every day, what's your CT score? You know, is your CT score a 10, which is really, really rare, or is it 1? And we try to challenge these guys each day with their CT, and that's something we do with Davin. Because he can be here, and if he dips one time, it's not playing his standard. You know, Davin is a tough guy. He's not afraid of contact. We want to develop more pass rush out of those guys. He knows that. He wants to be better at that. Heck, that guy played last year, we let him better out. He played a lot of the same role Chauncey Manax had to play, where he had to move inside and play against bigger people. But we want consistency in performance with him.
Last question.
Piggybacking off that with Davin, you know, we spoke with him the other day and he talked about how high the expectations are. They have the expectations they have for themselves, the standard, and said that he felt like, you know, thus far during camp, and that was before yesterday, that they felt like they had been running around well. You know, have you seen that out of the defense? Have, you know, comparing it back to spring when they kind of struggled to start with, has it been better? Have they practiced better?
Yeah, they have. Yesterday wasn't just defense; it was a total. I'm out here in the heat. I'm trying to hit each other. That kind of thing. It's too early for that. There's no poor means in football. They got to push past it. And it's not everybody. It's a few guys, but the few guys affect everybody. But so far, you know, they've been out there competing hard, both sides of the ball. Certainly hasn't been like the spring was. The spring was more of a sieve going through there. This has been more of a stoutness, good competition, lot more good players that are competing against each other. So what's happening is your quality of your threes and quality of your twos has gone up a little more, and we're seeing really good competition. But no, it's not been lopsided. And up until yesterday, I was really pleased with how the defense ran the ball and how they competed, a lot of energy. But we got to continue to do that every day. It's not a, you know, it's not a 4-day process. It's a 27 practice process. Thanks, guys.
Thanks. Stand by.